I'm afraid it's now obvious that the Albanese government is on a kind of far-left crusade that will please its union backers, but boy, it is frightening bosses now. It's a crusade, really, that it's really going to hurt business in this country. The list of the government's anti-business moves now is amazing, and the latest is a surprise plan by the Albanese government to give union delegates in workplaces more powers, including the right to hold snap inspection of pay records. And employer groups say these moves, which are still basically being kept secret by the government, could force them to pay union delegates for their time on union business and pay for more trouble for themselves. But that's just the latest hit. The Albanese government has also given unions the power to rope in other businesses to industrial action against just one company. It's scrapped the commission that was policing the very militant construction union. It's pushing same job, same pay laws against labour hire companies, which give businesses flexibilities. Those plans could also see lazy workers paid the same as very good ones. It's now wanting casual workers treated as permanent ones. And it's encouraging big rises to minimum wages, which have leapt more or just threatened to cause a wage price spiral. Now, all this is on top of its other plans, in particular to replace reliable coal-fired electricity, wind and solar, when again energy companies today were warning Labor's plans just cannot be done and the costs are rising. It would make your eyes water. Now, I don't exaggerate. This agenda will destroy productivity. This is one safe way of lifting wages without causing inflation. So they will also add to inflation and make Australians poorer. Joining me is the panel, Stephen Conroy, former Labor Senator and Cabinet Minister, and former Liberal Party Vice President Tina McQueen. Now, first to you, Stephen. Look, I don't think this can end well. I know Labor's got an agenda for some of it. A lot of it, it never said before the election. It doesn't have a mandate for. How's this all going to finish?
Well, I don't accept the way that the business groups are describing the laws. I mean, I've heard it all before, but let's just deal with some basic facts. Wages in this country for the last 10 years of the Liberal government were actually either stagnant or fell. The industrial relations system was broken. There's been no wage breakouts, despite the claims over and over again by the Reserve Bank Governor and the business community. And then we have inflation, not caused by wage rises, inflation caused by supply-side shocks to do with China, COVID lockdowns, the Ukraine war, gas, and being
plus
bought
massive government
all to
spending.
go overseas. So they are all factors that have got nothing to do with wages, got nothing to do with workers. And then there is the real fact in this debate that companies have been profiteering outrageously at the expense of ordinary Australians. And you've just got to look at what they call the profit share of the economy. The profit share of the economy right now, that's how much money businesses are getting out of ordinary Australians, is at a record high. So, Andrew,
Stephen, you're scaring me a bit. I mean, this government's already introduced price caps on gas. Are we really getting to the stage where governments determine what an acceptable profit is and interfere to that? And maybe that's the next step. I do not know. Tina McQueen,
no, I haven't suggested anything of the sort. What I've said is, if you look at what's called the wage profit share, you'll see the wage share in the economy is at its lowest in I can't remember how long, and the profit share is at its highest.
You might have not suggested
what that says is an imbalance.
There's price caps already imposed on gas. That's what I'm saying. And you're talking about profiteering. I know where that kind of talk in the left. I know you're on the right of the Labor Party. I know where that will lead.
You haven't addressed anything. Yes, Andrew. Yes,
you have your start.
Yes, Stephen has not addressed anything you ask of him. Look, it is frightening, and none of these businesses were fully aware what Labor were going to do prior to the election. And as you say, a lot of it is still secret now. It is absolutely frightening, and businesses are only now starting to revolt. Not just businesses, other all sorts of companies, and even some unions. I mean, it is scary, and we've got to push back now and try and stop some of this.
Now, Stephen, see, I get your point, that wages didn't rise much, not for the whole 10 years. I think you exaggerate there. But for a number of years, they did not rise much at all. And this is a sad thing. But I don't know that crunching business like this is actually going to help at all. We are cutting productivity with some of these measures, and that's got to hurt workers in the long term if businesses then can't
productivity
pay.
has been falling right through the last government. Productivity fell.
Yes,
As profits went up, productivity fell. So let's be clear. The current system has failed.
Stephen, I'm not defending that. I'm not defending that. I'm putting it what these measures will do.
Well, no. The business community are going to get into the embarrassing situation soon where they're going to be seen to be crying wolf once too often. Every single set of changes being proposed is going to end the universe as we know it. It's rubbish. They know it. Anyone who's been involved in these issues over 20 years knows it is complete rubbish. What you're seing is the pendulum swung too far.
We've got a happy space in the middle,
business
Stephen,
power,
don't we?
And
we
now
really
it's
have a
coming
happy
back
space
to
in the middle where it's not, but it's not, Armageddon on one side, smoking ruin, no one's got a job, and we're all in sackcloth and ashes, and, Nirvana on the other. I think this has a tendency to make us poorer. Tina,
we've never been in a position before.
There are now Liberals who...
Yep. Sorry, Andrew.
Well, there are now Liberals who just would love former Prime Minister Scott Morrison now quit Parliament. He was slammed by the Robodebt inquiry for running an unfair and unlawful program to get back money from welfare recipients who often hadn't been overpaid at all, and he misled Cabinet about it. Morrison rejects the findings, but he also seems to have checked out a bit, missing a couple of weeks of Parliament. Some of the Liberal left clearly want him gone. Here's one.
Well, I think if people have no further contribution to make, then I think they should move on. But ultimately, what Mr Morrison does doesn't matter for him.
That was Senator Andrew Bragg. Should Scott Morrison quit?
Look, I think it's unfortunate timing he's overseas, but I still think he has a huge interest in his electorate. But I tell you what, there's a lot more Liberals that want Andrew Bragg gone, Andrew, let me tell you, with some of his attitudes.
Well, that's true. But, the thing for me, Stephen, obviously...
I think Tina's right.
Go on, have a crack, Stephen. You can't go without having a crack. Oh, good.
No, I'm agreeing with you, Tina.
You want to say, quit. But the point is, Stephen, you want him to quit because you think you can win his seat.
I think there's be a real challenge. I think that Labor will perform well, but will not go close to winning the Fadden by-election this weekend. I think that's just too big a margin. I think certainly in New South Wales, the Liberals are a lot more on the nose. I mean, Tina has very strong views about her own party and what she thinks of them, and that divide that you see in the New South Wales
Not the party, just some of the members. Well, he's not supporting the leader with the no vote, and I think, in any party, should you support your leader? There's plenty of Labor people that aren't supporting the yes vote, but have more discipline. I just expect the Liberal Party to have more discipline and respect for the leader in that respect.
You're so right, Tina. I mean, it's interesting to me that it's a Liberal left that is, Andrew Bragg and Bridget Archer and getting in there niggle, knowing this can only hurt the party if Scott Morrison quits too soon, because no doubt I think he's waiting to see how you Liberals go in the by-election in Fadden in Queensland on Saturday, seat held by Stuart Robert, one of the ministers most criticised for how he handled the Robodebt scandal. If you go badly, there's no way the Liberals would want properly Scott Morrison to be causing another by-election in his seat.
Look, we have a good candidate in Fadden. We'll win that seat. We'll hang on to it.
Are you sure? Because I heard Graham Richardson saying he thinks there's an outside chance Labor will win.
Graham Richardson has not been right a lot of the times with past predictions, Andrew. I'll put money on Liberals holding the seat.
No, and then Scott Morrison may well quit.
I think Tina and I are on a complete unity ticket today.
Oh, God, that frightens me. That terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me.
I want Scott Morrison to stay. I want Bragg to go. And I think the Liberals will win Fadden. That is a three strikes square on the same unity tickets.
We'll be out on a date, Stephen. Unbelievable.
Well, I live in Melbourne, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint you.
Oh, I
assume that Fadden would be you put it down to an LNP win, but then up pops Graham Richardson saying, well, I think Labor could snatch it, so we shall see.
No, Andrew, people look at their electricity bills and these frightening policies of Labor. They're not silly, I'll tell you. They're on to Labor now, and will retain that seat.
Tina McQueen, Steve Conroy, thank you both so much for your time. Really appreciate it. What unanimity.